I suppose, and spend some time together?
Yeah, I think I said at post-match, it's good to get away, spend some time, and also go into an uncomfortable environment and have that other next level up in testing ourselves and seeing how far we've come across the first month. So, obviously we've only won the one game, but we feel like we've been competitive in those other games against, what looks like the top three teams at the moment. And still, while we're still starting to gel together as well, so we get another challenge, get on the bus and go up there out of our environment, which sometimes is not a bad thing, just to get away and no pressure on you and see what you can do.
I guess, as you said, it's sort of a clear top few teams at the moment, so these are the games you guys probably have to win to try and get that spot in the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to play each other 3 times, so it's going to be tough for us with Lonnie. We've got them twice at Windsor Park, so they're a different proposition up there as well, even though they've won their 2 games on the road thus far. So these games they're pretty important in coming towards the back end of the year.
Well, the wash up, maybe a bit of an extended break from Anzac Day. You boys ready to get back into it, and I know you always say you're going to each game wanting to win, but they view that it's a big opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the word, the opportunity of it. Like, I think probably myself looking at it, I didn't realise how much or how hard those 2 5-day breaks were, and I think that showed itself in our third quarter against Glenorchy when we dropped off. Like, there were some pretty tired boys there because we'd played a couple, those 2 compressed games, so I think they needed the break. So we let them get away for the weekend, do their thing, because with those short breaks they've been pretty diligent in their recovery and preparation and spending probably more time than they'd want at the footy club getting ready for those games. So we let them get away, to do whatever they wanted to do over the weekend, and came back in Monday night. Good, trained really well last night, so good spring in the step, and it's exciting to get to play again. So I think we're ready to go.
Is it a different feeling going in as the favourite, considering last year's struggles?
I probably wouldn't think we're definitely the favourite for this game. Going up to travelling, and they've won 2 games, we've won 1. So I think if you look at the results, we're pretty evenly matched. Like the margins, we've played the same teams, us and Lonnie, and those margins, whether win or loss, are pretty similar. So I think we're close to each other. So it'll just be that matter on the day of who can play to their strengths the longest for the 2 hours, and who can take the other team's strengths away as well. So I think it's a pretty close matchup.
You said after the Glenorchy game that you're starting to get sick of being 20-point losses and honourable losses and all that. What's the playing group like? Are they just as frustrated? Does it get them down, or do they just sense that they may be getting closer to where you want to be?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of both. But what you got to do in this game, I guess you got to fail pretty fast. Like, obviously no one's going to go 18-0. Like, you're going to have weeks where the results don't go your way. So it's just having that resilience to bounce back, but also taking the positives out of it. That we're getting close to, like we said, that top 3 that sort of the leaders of the pack at the moment. We're also conscious. The games we had against Lauderdale and Glenorchy were in pretty tough conditions, like for both teams. I think anyone who watched Anzac Day, you'd see. I think when we looked at the game, there was nearly 100 stoppages over the course of the game with that breeze going across the ground. Both teams had set shots out on the full. No one could really hit a target, so we haven't really got too many chances to play the footy that we want to play or that we're trying to play. So hopefully Mother Nature up north is pretty kind this week, and we get a nice still day where both teams can get out and use their tricks. So to answer your question, I think a little bit of frustration because you want to win every week, or you prepare to win every week, but also there's that optimism in terms of some good performances, and when you put that 4-quarter performance together, that's generally when you're going to get the result.
Who concerns you the most from them, mate?
They've got a few headaches. I think probably sneaky going under the radar is Joby Harper this year. I think he's having a fantastic year. He's up there in the best handful of players in the competition. His clearance work, and then he spent a lot more time forward last week against Clarence, and he's dangerous when he goes there. Thorpe is obviously playing a little bit of a different role. He's getting a bit higher up the ground. He's throwing himself into some stoppages as well, and I think probably after the first month, Tim Bristow's he spent a lot more time in at centre bounces in the midfield against Clarence, where he'd probably been the first 3 weeks, he'd been a bit more forward. So he's pretty sharp as well. And, there's that potential that Jay Blackberry comes in as well after playing in the D-League last week. So, there's some headaches there. But I also think you probably don't undersell their young guys coming underneath who've come up. Their D-League were the premiers last year and didn't lose a game. Young guys like Miller Hodge and Alec Wright, those sorts of guys stepping up. Yeah, so I think they're pretty even across the board.
And personnel-wise, mate, anything gains, losses, you just summons suspension?
No, we're all good.
No, but anybody else coming in?
We'll have one change. We haven't decided who's going out yet, but it's pretty exciting for us that Alex Vincent will play his first game, or he's played senior footy for the club before. He had last year travelling, playing cricket in England. He had a little knee issue, so he's played the last 3 in the development league. So he'll play on Saturday in the seniors, which is really good, and we'll make that decision on who goes out tonight. Otherwise, we're pretty no changes. Yeah.
And Kieran Lovell, mate, I guess seems to have really hit the ground running, and I know he said he was copping a bit of attention early, but the last couple of weeks, mate, he's obviously showing the class that he is and really doing a bit of everything for you guys to sort of willing his way into keeping in games.
Yes, it's pretty nice to have it at your disposal. So, and like we've always said with Kieran and anyone else that we've brought in, there's no pressure on them to come out and get those 30, 40 touches. Just he plays his role first and foremost, and in essence his role is to get the ball. So he's doing that really well at the moment. He's using it well. He sets us up. His agility out of stoppages. Everyone knows how Kieran plays and what his strengths are. It's pleasing that he's able to bring it, and it shows our younger guys he does it over 4 quarters. He doesn't sort of do it for 5 minutes here and there. He's consistent for us across the game. So, it's been really pleasing. He's great to have around the group. The boys love having him here. He loves being back home. So, hopefully his form puts him on the radar over the course of the year as well, and he can get that chance to get back in the system, which I think is a realistic thing for him. So, but we love having him, so it's great.
Do you reckon anyone's looking for that mid-season draft or whatever?
Yeah, I suppose there's the potential of that, and we've thought about that and spoke about that internally, and if he gets that opportunity in that's awesome. That's great for us as a club, great for Kieran as an individual, but also a bit of validation for the competition as a whole. Sometimes the competition gets a bad rap, or people say recruiters don't come and watch it, but if we can get someone direct out of the TSL back in the AFL system, it gives that prestige to the competition. We've had it with Macca Willis before, going from the TSL in there. So if Kieran can get that opportunity, it'd be awesome. And if we lose him mid-year, we lose him mid-year. That's life. We just move on and next man up. So
have anyone spoken to you, like AFL club spoken to you directly?
No, not at all. So
he hasn't heard anything.
Generally, I suppose that's probably between Kieran and his manager. I don't really get involved in talking to managers, but if someone asks me about him, I'll definitely talk him up, because we want him following and living his dreams out. So we want him back in the system.
This week, is this one you can generally think you can win?
Oh, we've just got to go out there and have some intensity and some real intent. We enjoy playing on this ground. Our form over here in the last 2 or 3 years has been really good. So, the bye came at a good time for us a couple of weeks ago. So the boys, we had a pretty tough week early last week, and then gave them the weekend off fully. So, fortunately, we got a few guys back from injury and whatnot as well. So we're looking forward to Saturday.
What sort of challenge do they present? I guess obviously they'll be hungry for a win as well.
Yeah, I mean they're quite a young side as well, so they've got a lot of inexperienced players, but their top end's still exceptional with Jez and Cox and Jones, both the Bailey boys. So we have to obviously nullify them to start with, but it's more the unknown. Young Preshaw's been really good up forward. For Clarence, kicking goals, he's obviously quite tall. So, we just want 4 quarters of intensity and some real effort, and you never know.
What do you focus on when you get a week off, mate? Is there anything in particular that you spend doing?
So I think everyone at the club, the bye came at a good time. We just needed to freshen up. So a few of the boys went away. I personally went away for 3 or 4 days as well. So just gave myself some time away from the club. It was nice to not be thinking footy all the time, because as the other coaches in the room would understand, like, you know, you're not just a coach, you're on standby 24/7 basically with the amount of contact you have from players and club officials. So it's just nice to have 3 or 4 days just to freshen the mind up. And, you know, you turn up on Monday and you review Clarence's game, and then you can really get stuck into the week. So preparation's been really good this week.
You obviously talk about the journey that you're on, and you're obviously only very early in that. Is it still, I guess, do you feel you've been hit a little bit by, you know, not just Colin going, but Marty Allison as well? That there was a bit of optimism coming in, but sort of that's been deflating at all?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I was talking to someone this morning, like, you know, 2 months ago, you potentially have those guys up for, plus Shawnee Willis, who's, you know, obviously potential to get the state cricket contract. So, you know, you sort of suddenly lose quite a fair bit of ammunition you'd have up for, but there's not much you can do about it. You just got to really make sure you work hard and just change structurally the way we play. So, you know, the last couple of weeks at training, we've had to alter our drills a little bit just to get used, because, you know, we have been training for sort of 3 or 4 months, generally kicking it longer. So we've structured our drills in the last few weeks just to change it up a little bit. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but, you know, as I said, we're here for the long haul and still getting really good buy-in, still getting good numbers on the track. So, you know, we know it's going to take time, but, you know, we think we've got the right people around us to help us get to where we eventually want to.
You mentioned you got some guys coming back from injury, mate, to strengthen?
Yeah, so Brad Young's a young guy that he'll come back and add some depth to the midfield. Axel Moore comes back, he missed last game. Tyler McGuinness unfortunately missed out of the Mariners, so we get him back, which will straighten us up structurally. Ollie Divinito comes back in as well after missing the Tigers. So there's a little bit of experience there with him, just to help the young forwards out. So, you know, we've gone from against the Tigers, we used all four emergencies after the initial side was picked. So, you know, there was 8 changes.
Opportunity for a win this week, mate?
Yeah, good opportunity for a win. We probably let one slip on the weekend. But look, I think we've been building every week. It's been areas of our game over the first month. They've been poor, but we've been able to rectify. So even last week, we played some really good footy at times and got some results in a couple of areas that we had been lacking, but we just weren't able to finish off in front of goal, which was really disappointing. And, you know, the mood in the rooms was sombre after the game, because it's probably one that we let slip.
How do you make sure that doesn't set in, and has it been an issue during the week, or do the guys get back on the track?
No, they get back on the track and bounce back. Like, the good thing about footy is 7 days later, you know, we've got an opportunity to play another young, exciting team, and you know, an opportunity to get a win, which is what we need to do. So you call upon your leaders to make sure training standards and all those types of things are there, and there's positivity. And look, to the boys' credit, Tuesday night was the best training session we've had in 6 weeks.
As Bear said, mate, their form's pretty good out here. Do you talk about that before the game and stuff like that? Or?
No, not really, not at all. We haven't really spoken about the opposition too much this year. A couple of their strengths, but it's more about trying to get our game up and going. So, you know, parts of it really worked on the weekend. So, you know, we finish off in front of goals, we win that game, and we're looking at the game a lot differently. So we've just got to go in confident and play our way.
The way the season's shaping, you know, with the 3 teams at the top, is it concerning at all? I know everybody's lists are different and whatnot, but yeah, is there a concern that they're cleared out and you're now chasing to an extent?
Oh, I don't know if it's... Yeah, look, I think the chasing thing's good, because then you get your improvements quicker. And I don't know about the chasing, because like we lost to North Launceston by 20 points and Lordale by 14 or 15. So how big's the gap? We're not too sure. And young talent can improve extremely quickly. So yeah, we probably are chasing a little bit, but that's going to make our teams grow quicker. I don't think the gap is going to be, you know, it's not going to get any bigger. I think it will tighten up.
With the final 5 too, is that? I mean, if you have some good form in the back after, you still a big chance to go deep in the finals.
Yeah, and I think that's what's exciting about our competition. Like, everyone says that only 2 teams miss out, which is reality, and it's a bit embarrassing. I think it's actually the other way, because it gives the 2 teams that are probably going to be the 2 younger teams, they get to play a final and have that finals experience. And also, if you get an even competition like we had last year, Lordale came from 5th. So I actually think it's a benefit with our age demographic in our competition to have that. So I actually see the final 5 as a positive, not a negative.
Changes you got this week?
We've got a few. So Matt Ling will play. He played in the development last week. He'll come in. Tim Castle will play. Chris Nild's available. Wade Wall's back. So yeah, we've got a couple of selections. Sam Green's also back from the Devils program as well, so we've got a couple of guys that we can select from. And just on that too, TC's Tim Castle's announced his retirement this weekend, so that's something that we can get the boys up for. Like, he's been around since 2009, and Bear was here when he was in 2010. The reality is that in 2009 he was, he came up from Sorrel, and he had to work on his game really diligently, and in the space of 18 months he turned himself into a premiership defender in arguably the best team the TSL's ever seen in 2010. So I think if we look at Tim, he's got the most out of himself, and I think this weekend after the game he can be really satisfied with what he's achieved in his career. And I think every club in the TSL, if they have a player of sticks at 5 days a week, 3 days in pre-season for 10 years, that's a pretty outstanding career. And he's worked extremely hard to get what he's got, and he's tasted the ultimate success. So that's going to be a good game for him this week, and one we can celebrate.
So why now?
There's a few. The first one is that he's building a house. The second one is he's got his own business with his father, which is Simply Joinery down at Sorrel. So there's a plug. He's also going to Europe for some time in the next couple of weeks, and then he goes away at the back end of the year. So he's got to the age where maybe football's third and fourth in line. It's not the be all and end all at the moment, so that's where it's at. He's probably lost a little bit of that drive. But as I said, 10 years of drive is a pretty good effort. I don't think there'd be too many guys in the TSL that's been around for 10 years.
Is that why he's been running around in the development league? Well, it was dropped, but
yeah,
sort of because of the
there was a little bit of that element. The other thing with our list as well, we've got 5 or 6 guys that are 30. Then we haven't got many middle age guys. So if we're looking to play kids, we can't really take out the 25-year-olds. We need to keep them at our club and invest games in them. With the guys at the top end and that are potentially retiring, they're probably the guys that need to miss out. So unfortunately, he missed out a couple of weeks in a row. But I think, the development coach said to me last night that he's probably had 120 possessions in 2 weeks in the development and really led from the front. So he's gone back with the right attitude and dominated games and deserves an opportunity, and also deserves, to go out in a winning note as well.
sentiment. Still part in footy, mate. You're giving them the farewell game of the season rather than...
Yeah, I think so. Like, as I said, 10 years premiership player, and he's given everything to the club, and his family's a real integral part in our club. Brandl's, his father's one of our trainers, and his mother helps out on a Thursday night with the players' dinner. So, it's not just him, it's also the family here. So we think he deserves that.
How are you going?
Not bad, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Is that all you got for me? All right. Cheers.
Mate, bit of extended break for you guys as well. A chance to freshen up a little bit.
Yeah, we've had sort of those 2 mini breaks, I suppose. I think it was about 11 days and 9 days. I don't know if that maths adds up, but it was around that. And so that's good. It's good mentally. I think it's important at state league level that the mental break and keeping guys mentally fresh is really important, especially with most of our guys being tradies. Some pretty early mornings. I'll be driving home after selection. I'll start giving them a call and I think, hang on a sec, no, it's 9 o'clock, they're in bed. So it's it's one of those ones where it is really important for our group just to have a break here and there. And yeah, but they're up and about. I mean, they've been really good this year since November, really switched on to what they need to do. So, but really looking forward to this week. Like, obviously it's a massive rivalry between these 2 groups, and and built on real foundations, a pair of grand finals, obviously last year a second semi-final, and so they're looking forward to it and I'm looking forward to it, and we'll get a bit of a measure about how we're going.
How much have you studied the tape from what Lauderdale was able to do to them last week?
Look, I went and had a look at the game, and there's some stuff you pick up from it, but I mean, walking away from the ground, you can't get 2 more different grounds than UTAS Stadium and Lauderdale, really, can you? So there's only so much that transfers, and we've been doing as much study of their previous games, to be honest, as we have of that game. And it's one of those, like 2 years ago at this time of year, Lauderdale beat North Launceston at Lauderdale, which I think gets forgotten because the way North Lonnie finished that season was so dominant. So I don't really take too much from that result, to be honest, other than Lauderdale is a very tough opponent, particularly at their place, but we all knew that already.
You mentioned that you'll sort of be able to see where the team is at from this game. How highly do you rate this game in order to see that?
I think, what's made North Launceston so good for so long is, their system and their consistency. And I think they'd probably say at this point in time with a few new players, they're still getting that embedded this season, but it's still pretty impressive the way they go about things. And if you let them beat you around the contest, if they get the game on their terms, they're very hard to get the ball through. And last week, Lauderdale in that second quarter dominated around the contest. Hayden Smith was outstanding for them, and they just owned territory with the wind at their back. I think they kicked 8 of their 11 goals in about 20 minutes. That was the difference in the game. So, the rest of that contest, I think North Lonnie around the ball were just highly competitive. They were right around the mark. It was a good game of footy. So I don't think it's anything, I don't think they've dropped away too much. I rate this game highly. North Launceston at UTAS is, one of the biggest tests in the competition. It has been for a long time.
Are they arguably as vulnerable as they've ever been over the last 3-4 years?
What can I tell you on Saturday night? No, look, as I said before, I think they're still getting some of their stuff embedded with the new players. So they're not the team that played in the grand final last year. They're still building towards that. I think they've got really good potential to be just as good as they were last year once all that falls into place. At the same time, we've got a few new guys as well, so we're still embedding some stuff. And so really, it's a game of footy. Roll out there. It's a night game. It's probably going to be dewy. It mightn't be the cleanest game of footy, so a lot of it will come down to the contest and being able to put heat on the other team's defence.
Do you feel as though you guys are flying under the radar? There seems to be a lot of focus on Lauderdale and North Lonnie at the moment, and you're obviously unbeaten as well. Do you feel as though you're maybe not getting the accolades you guys deserve?
I don't sit there checking the radar a lot, to be honest with you, Smithy, but look, I don't know. We haven't played superb footy yet. We had one quarter against Clarence where it really clicked. The rest of the season we've been pretty good. Our contested ball work has been better than it was last year. Significant step up. Our defensive work has been really good, and that's carried on from last year. And that's been pleasing because we've sort of moved Josh Grant forward and we've lost Daniel Joseph, who are two really big pieces of our defence last year. So for players to be able to slot in there and fill that gap, obviously Liam Smith's been tremendous for us down there, and then the old hats like Josh Arnold and Harrison Gunther, and then Chris McKnight last week played his 100th game. The majority of them in our development team, but his guys just kept plugging away, and he made a couple of really important plays for us last week. So I've been pleased with the guys who have come in and just found their role and done the job. And that's probably summed us up so far. We've got the job done, but without really playing our absolute best footy. And so this week we're probably going to have to take it up a notch. North Lonnie will be smarting after last week. They don't take losses well. No successful team does. So we'll see where we're at.
Pretty big if you can win, I suppose. That's 2 losses in a row for them. Big for Southern footy, I guess, and maybe a changing of the guard in some ways. If you can get it done.
I wouldn't look at it like that. As I said, I think they've got the potential to be very good by the end of the season. Got some great pieces. Some of the new guys that have come in, like Elmer, leads straight and hard at the footy. Obviously getting Rushton is a really good coup for them. He's very dangerous and quick. So, and I think, some of those other guys like Davies, they'll improve as they get more used to TSL footy. Van Buren as well. We just want to win the game for us. Whether they've lost 1 in a row, 2 in a row, 3 in a row, they'll bounce back. They're a good club. They're built on solid foundations.
How do you plan to stop those in the middle, like Brad Cox?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously Cox Goodgie kicked a goal from the centre square last week. He's a freak of nature. We're really lucky in this comp. You got guys like him and Taylor Whitford and Jay Bowden and Reece Mott, guys who played their whole careers here. I don't know enough people appreciate what they've got having those players here their whole careers, because I had a couple of VFL teams speak to me last year, and they just had long lists of players in the TSL they wanted. 7 or 8 from each team, particularly the top 4 or 5 teams, a really long list of players they want to get. And that's how well the talent in this competition is viewed from outside. Coxie's a great player. We had a good test last week against Lovell, and I was really pleased. Our midfield found the balance between applying heat on Kieran, but not going away from our own game while doing it. And, Kieran still got plenty of the ball, but I thought our guys did a good job of putting him under pressure while still getting plenty of the ball themselves. So we'll roll into this week against a great midfield up there, and obviously they're now rolling Avent and Foon through there as well, who, guys in their system who've been able to play roles, down back, but who are very talented players and capable midfielders. So, we'll roll in there. We'll have some plans for them, but we also want to play our game and test them out as well.
When you talk about, you obviously haven't played your best footy yet and been a quarter, when you come up games like this weekend and then Morningdale the following week, do you think that for the leaders at the club that will bring the best out of them and maybe you can not just click but go another level? No disrespect to who you've beaten already, but these are probably the big two games that you've faced so far.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's one of those ones where the physical side of it and the effort side of it and the work rate has been really good. So I don't feel like the players aren't really at the level they want to be. It's more just, like on the Anzac Day, the conditions just made it impossible for both teams to play clean footy. It's a good question. Like, it's just a matter of time. We've got a pretty new forward line, so that's got to take some time to click. And the first quarter against Clarence was the best we've got with our setups, and all of a sudden it really clicked. But it's still a work in progress. We still have breakdowns with that. So I'm not sure. I think, to be honest, this week, in particular at night, is going to be a really contested game of footy. On a big ground, it'll then be really about work rate to get to the contest, because there's going to be a lot of spillage. Probably won't be as clean as it would in the day. So I'm not sure it's going to be the game where it's the really clean, slick, wow, look at these two teams. It's going to be more high pressure, high work rate, and which team can sustain that for the longest and make the most of their opportunities. That's going to be really big as well.
How are you going personnel-wise from that day?
We're going pretty well. Obviously, Tim Butterworth opted not to take that to the tribunal. He felt that the bump was okay, but unless, the way it's set up now, it's a little different from natural justice, where there's a presumption of innocence. Now you've actually got to prove you're innocent. And just the angle of the camera, we didn't feel we could do that, so he took the 1 week. But that's our only out. We don't have anyone back from injury, but we've had some really good young players come up. Jack Stevenson missed a lot of pre-season, but he's been working his tail off and playing some good footy. He'll come up this week, and a bit of a famous Glenorchy name, Isaac Manson will make his debut for us this week, which I'm really excited about. Just a good kid who works really hard, high level of skills, good speed, but also applies a lot of pressure. He's only 17, so it's really excited. I haven't told him yet, so he'll probably find out via this. But just a great kid, and really looking forward to what he can do on a big stage.
What's the relationship there, mate?
So he is the grandson of a former premiership player and president, Jam Tin Manson. I'm trying to remember his first name. Do you remember his Barry Manson? Thanks, Bear. That's his grandson, and so it's really exciting. He actually played his juniors at North Hobart, but then the family influence won out, and he came down to us last year and played some really good development footy. Got within a whisker of playing seniors last year, but now he gets his chance, and we're really excited to see him play.